Hey, it's party time, Mom. Welcome to another episode of the Chad Prather Show. Good to be with you right here in the mothership, which is Studio 22. Of course, Puppet Master Mark Tate hanging out over there, driving this ship, taking us into just a new sphere of awesomeness. I feel good about this episode. It's a good day.
Yeah.
It's cooled down to like 94 outside in Texas.
Yeah.
I almost want to put a jacket on.
Almost.
You're wearing a jacket.
I am. Actually. Well, you know, it's funny because this room can kind of go up and down in temperature, and we kind of ice it down a little bit. And I feel like this corner of the room stays cooler than the rest of the room, maybe because we're not in the lights.
You're probably
as much,
getting the air. It blows over that way.
It's probably
because people can't see it. You know, the air handler's right over here, so I'm sitting straight under it, but it blows out.
Yeah.
I'm getting older, and I know that because I'm getting menopause, and I got the flashes. Like I wake up, I have night sweats. When you get older, you get night sweats, right? I'm 46. Night sweats, you wake up and the bed's soaking wet. It's menopause, dude.
Wow.
It is. It's menopause. We'll call it that. And it's a horrible feeling because you're soaking wet and you're cold. Like because now you got to take the sheets off, and it's like you've been in the pool or you just got out of the shower. I'm not old. I'm just getting older. Like I can still play with myself, but it gives me heartburn. You know what I'm saying? It's just weird things that happen. Weird things. Candace, the queen of the Ethiopians, sitting up.
You're in that weird phase before old, which is just gross.
I mean, you start getting arthritic. You start scratching your inner ear with your keys. That kind of thing. Like you go through the Academy Sporting Goods looking for new shoes, and Velcro looks like a great option.
I mean, yeah. You've been talking about your gout struggle, so I think Velcro is in your future.
Or a chiropractor.
I rebuke you, Satan. I rebuke you. Candace, don't you start bringing that African witch doctor black magic over here and putting that evil on me. Don't you do it.
Noted. I mean, I can't really help what comes.
Do you get back to Edith Ababa very much?
I can't say.
To go back and be your African queen?
I think I gave up the timeshare a few months ago, so.
Look at you with a sense of humor.
Women can be funny, too.
You can be. You just need a chance. Somebody give her a chance. Sitting over in the peanut gallery, as always, taking up space, Party Foul Steve.
That's what I do.
That's a good-looking shirt you're wearing.
It is. It's a vintage Chad Prather
It is. Look at the silhouette of that handsome man.
These are going away. I've got a few left.
You do?
Just a handful. These are going away.
Can people get them?
They can still get them.
Are they on watchchad.com?
I don't know. They can get them at shows, live shows.
Oh, you're still selling those? Okay.
I still got a few of them.
September 27th. Whole new merch line coming out, watchchad.com. Whole new merch line. And you go get it. It's going to be some cool stuff. We even got a shirt out there. Herbert the Silent Deer is on it. It says Studio 22. You can't live without Herbert in your life. Michelle Krennick, Dr. Michelle Krennick. Dr. Michelle Krennick. Back to Life Chiropractic. She's in here. She's monitoring Steve.
I take her everywhere I go now.
Yeah, she's like your pocket practor. I love it. My favorite human on the planet, no question about it. Michelle Krennick, glad you're in here.
Thank you.
Back to Life Chiropractic. I'm coming to see you tomorrow.
You are. You better.
You always say that like I won't. We make a lot of plans we cancel, don't we? You and I. We plan dinner and let's go get some wine or whatever, and then I fall through.
But you are coming tomorrow.
I'm going to come tomorrow. And then what? I have to, as you say, keep coming.
Yes.
Don't say anything, Steve.
I'm not.
It was a weird joke right there that you missed. It flew right past you.
Nope.
Yeah. Anyway.
Past me.
Eric Rittmeyer sitting here in the hot seat. Eric is a Marine. You can never say former Marine. You don't stop being a Marine. Once a Marine, always a Marine. Although Party Foul Steve does cause me to question that a little bit.
Hey, there's always that one, anomaly. Is that a good
anomaly?
Word?
Look at you.
Big. Perfect word. I looked that up this morning. I thought it might come in handy.
You're an anomaly.
Yeah.
You're the lazy Marine. I laughed out loud. I was listening to a podcast episode from a week or so ago, and you were talking about how you did hard labor, working in the oil field and then 4 years in the Marines.
Yeah, vice versa. I did Marines first and then oil field.
And that's why you have such a bad back now.
That's one of the reasons.
Has nothing to do with the fact that you don't stand up straight and don't have a neck.
I thought it was a football injury.
Yeah, it was actually my amateur wrestling career that kind of put it. You ever hear?
You know what? I was thinking about that.
Dustin Rhodes.
Dustin Rhodes.
Did you hear about the Tijuana match?
I didn't hear about it. Was there a donkey involved?
About it. They just asked him about it. So
that's an interesting road show right there.
Yeah.
Steve, we're going to get wrestling suits. I don't know why, but I was thinking about this the other day. I want us to get the wrestling leotards.
All right.
And the little things you wear on your ears.
Yes.
And we're just going to go out in public.
All right, let's do it.
See what happens.
Sign autographs.
Eric, you've been on the TV everywhere. You got a book out called The Emotional Marine, 68 Mental Toughness and Emotional Intelligence Secrets to Make Anyone Instantly Like You. You're like the Marine Dale Carnegie, aren't you?
I like that actually. Yeah, that's a good one.
I like that. Make people instantly like you. What is it like? How does one become a mental toughness expert?
That's a good question, actually. I hope nobody ever asked me that question, because I just kind of made this stuff up, right? I go on these like, what's your title? I'm like, mental toughness and emotional intelligence expert. I don't know. It's emotional control. I mean, we're just horrible at it. As humans, we just cannot control emotion. Like, everybody gets their panties in a bunch every time you say something you don't like. I mean, the political environment's a prime example of that. Yeah. It's about emotional control. Everybody thinks it's like push-ups and running 10 miles. It's not about that. It's just about understanding that you're not going to agree with other people and controlling and not going bat crazy on somebody because they disagree with you. That's okay. You can do that.
Well, that's the thing, because social media is a perfect example. You say anything, and now it lights up with F you, go to hell, kiss my, up yours and all that kind of stuff. People just can't face a differing opinion.
They can't. I'm very pro-blue. I do a lot of stuff. I'm about as pro-blue as you can be without actually being a police officer. Yeah. And it blows my mind how many shows I do and I get done and I just get destroyed, dragged through the mud. Mm-hmm. People call me everything under the sun because I support police. Yeah. And it's insane to me. I'm like, these are police officers. These aren't like, this isn't like MS-13. I'm talking about he's a police officer. So people just get upset. It's a cancel culture, right? I mean, everybody's got to get everybody's got to get upset about something just because they don't agree with you.
That phrase, that's kind of been my current pet peeve, is this cancel culture. Is if you make a joke that's wrong, you got to get them, they get fired from Saturday Night Live. Or if, Kevin Hart did a tweet that was considered homophobic 8 years ago, then he doesn't get to host the Oscars, those kind of things. Coming out of the world where I try to make people laugh doing public comedy on stage, live audiences, I've yet to do a show where somebody did not send me a message afterwards with, "I'm so disappointed in you." Just so disappointed. But things like humor are so subjective. I don't know if it's going to work or not until I do it, And so these days, though, people are getting so offended. You can't say anything. Like, everything has to become political. So the intelligence quotient, we know that, IQ. But then you have this emotional quotient, the EQ, and that's been a big thing these days. Does that factor in with this?
Yeah, so for the longest time, everybody's always been thought, the higher your IQ, the more successful you're going to be. And this was, years and years. You take this test, the higher you score, the smarter you're going to be, the better you're going to do in business. And all of a sudden, it was like, wait a minute, these people that are smart can't fight their way out of a wet paper bag. It's like, there's got to be something else there. Yeah. EQ comes into existence about mid-90s, I would say. Now, all of a sudden, it's like, okay, you don't have to be book smart to be successful. It just so happens that the majority of people I know, the ones with the highest IQs, their EQs are non-existent.
Party Foul Steve. Like, Party Foul Steve is low IQ. He's low IQ, but his EQ is solid.
They're almost inversely related, right? So I got some very smart friends. I mean, they'll like solve algorithms for molecular, whatever the hell you want to call them. But you ask them to go order a pizza at the pizza joint, and they're like, what? What are you talking about? I have to talk to them?
Yeah. I got to go to public?
Yeah, people.
Around people?
Yeah, but meanwhile, they score like 1,500 on their SATs.
So I've always explained it this way. You correct me here, because I want to know if I'm even close. Like, I've looked at people who spend their life, like the puppet master over here, Mark, spend their life in front of a screen or dealing with an object, that they're having monitors in front of them. Musicians sometimes, or sound engineers. They've spent their entire life socializing with a guitar or a piano. And then a lot of times the artsy people or the really smart IT people, maybe they don't know how to deal. Mm-hmm. See, like Mark only knows 2 words, pretty and good. Pretty good.
Interesting.
3.
So like Mark, like, Mark's a funny guy, but you really got to get him talking. And that's a hard thing to do.
And the kids especially, I joke a lot about being serious. It's more about social media now than it is about social interaction. Mm-hmm. I'm your age, right? So I'm 45. I'm in the Velcro shoe kind of phase right now. Mm-hmm. I don't have the hot sweats at nighttime
yet. You're in good shape, though. So you still do things. I have no testosterone.
Still do things, right?
I'm all estrogen at this point.
It's all good. We all get there somehow. I don't jam the key in my ears. I don't pull Joe Biden on you. No, but it's like these kids are all about social media than they are about social interaction. So it's
Yeah.
like they can sit on the keyboard and do what they got to do, but when it comes to communicating, they miss that. So they go through school, they memorize, regurgitate. They get thrown out in the workforce. They go the first day on the job, somebody says something they don't like, they go nutso and they scream and yell and run out the door saying they were triggered.
And what you're saying is so simple, it's very profound. Because that's the thing. People have not taught. It used to be if you had a bully at school, you dealt with it. Maybe you got your ass kicked, but you dealt with it. You went out there in the playground and you faced it up. And these days you don't do it. These kids don't know how to deal with rejection. And all of a sudden you go into this job and I can remember 4 years, almost 5 years of my life, I kind of went through a burnout and I said, screw it. I'm tired of being an entrepreneur. I'm tired of hustling. I'm tired of working for myself. I'm going to go be like the rest of the world, get a corporate job. Went to work for a Fortune 300 company, did well, but I was miserable. And I can remember one time in our offices, they pulled everybody. There were several hundred people in this office building. They pulled a group down and said, okay, we're having a meeting with this group. And then on another floor, they're having a meeting with this group. And they told our group, they said, the people in the other group, when they go back upstairs, there's going to be a box on their desk and they're all leaving.
Wow.
They're all gone. We'll take care of them. We'll help them get. And so it's interesting to watch people's reactions because that's real life. Were those people bad? Were they not good at their job? No, not. It's just a downsizing.
Yeah.
And people these days, they don't know how to deal with things like that.
They don't. And the problem is it's expanded now to politics. I mean, that's the issue. I call it emotion-based politics.
Let's talk about that a little bit. Expand on that some.
Yeah, emotion-based politics. There's no fact anymore. So it's like the minute I come at you with a fact that disagrees with the belief you have, you automatically default to racist, bigot, fascist, just because I'm giving you facts that disagree with the belief you have. People can't accept that.
Yeah.
So we use these emotion-based politics. We take the AOCs of the world that have millions of followers. They throw something out there and call it a concentration camp. And, all of a sudden they got people shooting everybody up. There's no facts behind it. Doesn't matter. So systematically we're desensitizing people. So we're throwing stuff out there enough, their brain gets systematically desensitized to it. They hear it enough, they start to believe it.
Yeah.
The Green New Deal is a prime example of that. You got people now are starting to grab onto it. Like, really? Is that part of your brain not functioning or what? Seriously. Have you worked a day in your life to understand the numbers don't work out? But it's all emotion based.
Yeah. And you hear people that you think are reasonably intelligent candidates who are running for office or holding a very big office. And when I first read the Green New Deal, I was like, this looks like something an 8th grader wrote and titled it The Way the World Should Be, and you read it, but now they're actually saying this needs to be a thing. It looks like it should have crayon drawings on it. It's just ludicrous, but people have accepted it. And my philosophy on that, to your point, and I love how you say it because it kind of puts a more intellectual spin on my weird scramblings in my brain, is I think that they're brainwashing us in a way they're whitewashing history. Like you call it a concentration camp. Well, our southern detention centers on the border, they're not trying to create genocide like the concentration camps were. Because you wake up one day and you're like, where are all the Jews? They were here yesterday. I mean, just a minute ago. Now they're gone. We're not down there going, well, where are all the Mexicans going? I mean, they show up at the border and then they disappear. There's a lot of smoke, But that's not what we're saying. So to say this is a whitewash of history, but they don't go too far because I almost believe that these people will start using Hitlerian, I don't even know if that's a word. Is that a word, Candace? Hitlerian tactics?
It is now.
It is now.
I
We
feel like
made
that
it up.
makes
You heard it
sense,
here at
though.
the Chad Prather Show. Party time, Mom. They'll start using those same tactics because that's what socialism does. And the problem is you won't know that's what it is because you've been so whitewashed of not just your language, but the language of your mind.
It's desensitizing. It's like boot camp. I mean, Steve, you can relate to this. You go through boot camp and you get there the first day, the first month, these people are yelling in your face. They're screaming at you. After the first month or so, you're like, all right, they're going to scream at me. My brain I shut you off now. It's like a game to me. That's the issue, especially with the millennials and all coming through, 70 plus million of them. They haven't worked. They don't know what it's all about. So they hear free education. They hear free healthcare. They hear free everything. And they're like, yeah, I'll vote for that. Meanwhile, they don't have a clue what it takes to pay for it. So they're just basically taking these kids. They are brainwashing. They're desensitizing to the point where they're going to get the votes for it. We got 12 years left to live, right? I mean, that's basically the world's coming to an end now. So we got 12 years left to live before this whole place goes up.
11 if you live on Martha's Vineyard.
True.
Because where the Obamas just bought
And she
the
did
house.
claim that about 6 months ago. So yeah, we're kind of in the hole here.
We're screwed.
Yeah, we are.
I mean, why even invest?
Yeah.
Why even care?
Yeah, I go for gold personally.
Yeah, me too. GMR Gold. I get the bullion boxes every month. My buddy Charlie Stevens down in the Woodlands, Texas. Let me tell you, he hooks me up. I spend a lot of money on gold, silver, and platinum. I've got a lot of weird stuff in the safe. Like my wife came in the other day and she was like, "Why do you have all these dimes?" And I'm like, "Woman, that's 90% silver. They're not just dimes. They're worth money. And those 10-cent pieces are worth $3 each. So don't spend the dimes." Yeah. But you're right. Why do we even look to the future? I have always said you can't do business while you're trying to go out of business. So why are we keep thinking about this almost a fatalistic worldview that's out there? And you're right. It's because I think people are too weak to live on the planet.
It's fear-mongering, too. I mean, it's fear-based politics as well. I mean, everything's designed. I mean, look at the whole Democratic message. It's all fear-based.
Yeah.
If you don't, then you are. That's their philosophy. If you don't, then you are. If you don't agree with gun control, then you want to murder kids.
Yeah.
If you don't agree with climate change, you want the world to end. It's this fear tactic stuff. And unfortunately, some people sign up for it. Some people believe it. That's the scary thing.
Have you always been this smart?
Never.
Come on.
I got the good looks. I didn't get the smarts.
Pretty. It's pretty.
It's makeup.
Yeah, I want to rub your head. I've always said that these women out here having these vagina hat rallies, that us guys need to go out and have a foreskin rally, and we could wear turtlenecks and just pull them up over our head, and it would look good on you because you're bald.
That
would
great.
Be kind of cool.
That'd be awesome. We could Brett Kavanaugh it. Yeah. I don't know what happened. I was just walking by and it landed in my hand.
Yeah. Somehow I became a penis, and there it is. I don't know what I was protesting. Monday Night Football being on ESPN. Who knows? Real issues.
Poor Candace.
Our buddy Scott Husing, who wrote Echo and Ramadi, he talks about how he was horrible at school. He went in the Marines, was a war hero, and then he came out and went to college. And he said the first book he ever read was the book he wrote. So he's not that smart, we know. But yeah, he's a killing machine. I love that about him. But no, I look at that and I'm like, I don't know that people are. I look at the millennials. You mentioned them. Then I look at Gen Z. Like, I have hope for Gen Z. Mm-hmm. I have hope for them because they tend to have a little more conservative leanings. The millennials, we won't get into the whole generational aspect of what created that, because our generation, Gen X, is just as much at fault. We created this, right? The boomers had their problem. They created us. And so who knows? Maybe by the time our kids get along, we'll hit a big reset and something common sense will come back. But I don't know, because we've lost critical thinking.
And it's objective reality. We don't think critically anymore. We just get so overwhelmed, and that's what I speak on. It's emotional control. So emotion and logic, they're inversely related. The more emotional you are, the less logical you are.
Yeah.
So my whole thing when I talk to my groups, when I talk to these sales teams, say my goal is to get you guys drunk in emotion. And like, what's that mean? I'm like, drunk in emotion is the point where you get so emotional, you're incapable of thinking logically. And sometimes that benefits you. Normally it doesn't. In business, it never does. In politics, it's that way. I mean, listening to people yell and scream at each other, it's like you're so drunk in emotion, you're incapable of making a logical decision. When you're making life or death decisions, that's a problem.
Yeah.
Look at how Trump's handling this stuff right now. I was very impressed with that. I was very impressed with the fact that he held back and did not decide to bomb when they shot down one of our drones. That was very shocking to me, because I thought emotions were going to get the best of him.
Yeah. And that's the idea people think of Trump. They're like, he's just ruled by emotions, but he's been very methodical. He's been the exact opposite of what people assume he's going to be.
Yeah, because people say, like, is President Trump mentally tough? And I say, parts of me say, yes, he is. Parts of me say, no, he's not.
No, he's not.
The self-regulation piece of it, I say, no, he's not. He's not able to regulate his emotion. Look at his Twitter feed. I've been saying that forever now. Like, all he's got to do is shut off his Twitter account, and he wins the election. Let them infight. Let them do their thing. Let the AOCs just throw them in there. Let them talk about, changing this, changing that, and gender this and gender that. Which, talking about the dictionary, they just added a new term in there too. In the Merriam dictionary, they is now an official definition, by the way.
Yeah.
I refer to myself as.
Are you a they them?
I'm still trying to figure that part out. I might try to come up with a new one.
See, Sam Smith, who is a UK recording artist who's had numerous number ones. He's Grammy nominated. Numerous number ones in the UK, I'll say that. He just recently came out. He said, I've always known that I was binary, and now I've come out with, I'm identifying as a they, them. But then in his statement, he kept talking about, I'm doing this, and I'm doing this, and I'm going to do this. And I'm like, wait a minute. You're not even referring to yourself as a they, them. Why do you keep referring to yourself as I? And if he gets nominated for a Grammy again, is he going to be in the group category, or is this going to be as a solo artist? This is the kind of matters, Eric.
I 100% agree with that. Are we an I or we a we? That's a major problem. And it's crazy to me. California's a prime example of this. They just made some changes out there. They're no longer manholes in the ground. They're not manholes. Right. They're utility holes.
Utility holes.
Yeah. So like mannequins are now peoplekins. Yeah. Like seriously, is this where we live? Like is that where you're putting emphasis? You got people living on the street shooting up.
Ma'am.
I like that peoplekin right there.
Did you see the article that came out where it was a privately owned coffee company and the transgender barista screamed at it was someone who used to work for Candace. Who was it? They were an aide, 23-year-old young lady. She was an aide to a Republican conservative politician. God, it slips me, but was identified and went in there. And they were like, "Get the F out of here, you fascist!" Blah blah blah. Well, the transgender person, lost their job over it, rightfully so, because you're kicking, a person out of there. But this thing comes out, and I loved like the New York Times, which is a utility hole itself, came out and said that transgender person fired for opposing, and it was like totally bent it. Mm-hmm. So it made it like they were the victim. And so I retweeted. I said, well, it's because he was a dick.
Has nothing to do with it.
I mean, he's a dude identifying as a woman, so he was a dick. And so, it's like this is the world we're living in.
And you got the guy, too. I'm sorry. It was a transgender woman.
It's a dude.
Who went in for the bikini wax with the Brazilian,
Yeah, Jessica Yaniv. And Jimmy Yaniv. Is it Jimmy? I don't even know.
Jessica's basically, I was doing some follow-up, whatever. Jessica's posting stuff on her page talking about she's getting her period.
Mm-hmm. And couldn't get in the pool because of it.
You saw that one, yeah.
Forgot the tampons. I didn't have a tampon with me, but I was so excited to get my period.
That's a biological male saying they're not getting their period, and everybody looks like that's okay.
That and the fact that the illogical point of it is no woman has ever celebrated getting their period. Nobody's been like, I couldn't get in the pool because I got my period. Oh, yeah,
happy birthday to me. Yeah, this is
awesome. Woohoo, my ties. They know that doesn't happen.
No. Idiots. And they expect everybody. That's the problem. Like you can define whatever you want to define as. Don't jam their other people's throats. Obviously, don't have people losing their jobs because of how they feel. So.
Well, then you had the lady in the UK who was arrested for misgendering someone over Twitter, and so this is the kind of culture we're living in. That's a slippery, dangerous place because things have gotten so esoteric and existential. And we're living in that age of postmodernism where people can't even define postmodernism. It's just how I'm interpreting the world. So we have these ideas of my truth. I'm living my truth. Well, there's the truth. Mm-hmm. There's no my truth in that regard. And then back to the point of what you were saying earlier, I think, for instance, conservatives and liberals have the same goals. We don't want kids dead. We want the economy strong. We want our country great. We want equality for people, equality of opportunity, whether regardless of your gender or sexual orientation. We want these things by and large. We value certain aspects of patriotic America. We just have a different method of getting there. And people can't handle that, taking a different route. You either do it my way or you don't do it. And the right, by the way, I will go and say, I say it all the time, is just as guilty. Mm-hmm. Is just as guilty.
Yeah. And people get beat over the head with this stuff, and that's what gets so frustrating about politics. Like, just because you disagree with someone doesn't mean you have to beat them over the head with it. Mm-hmm. They're not a horrible person. We can't have an opposing point of view. We can't suspend our disbeliefs. That's what I speak on. We're incapable of that. So we can't take an opposing point of view and come into that with an open mind. Yeah. I automatically have to make up how I feel, and there is no middle ground. Again, goes back to President Trump 101. That's the issue. It's a 180-degree opposite. So whatever he says, the left has to think or do the exact opposite. Yeah. If they could just come off, if we could both kind of give about 10 degrees either way, be a little bit different. We got to be 180 degree, totally bat crazy opposite of whatever he thinks. That's a major problem.
And again, I say it all the time, Trump is not a far right guy. If anything, he's a moderate or left of right politician, but people have to perceive him as being far right, and therefore that's why these extremes are taking place, and these Democratic candidates are running on these off the wall platforms that are just absolutely nutty. Now look at Party Foul Steve. Look at him. Just look at him, Eric. I want you to look at him. Now, if you saw him out in public, would you just say, this guy is emotionally strong? Like this guy, his EQ, like you instantly like him.
He's got the hair. It's very likable.
Yeah.
That's definitely.
I can't run my fingers through it. It's in a ponytail today.
Is it?
Well, it's in a Jedi. I'm doing a Jedi thing. Kay likes to do something different with my hair, so I let her.
What the hell is happening right now? What is going on, Steve? I was wondering about that when I looked at you. You took the thing off. Turn around.
What?
What are you
I can't
doing?
turn all the way around. I'm not supposed to twist.
What are you doing, young Padawan?
It's a Jedi. Obi-Wan Kenobi right here.
Steve, you have 0 midichlorians in your
I
bloodstream.
don't even know what midichlorians are.
That's what gives people the ability to manipulate the Force.
How do you know that I don't?
You don't.
I just
does get
Steve, you
adjusted.
can't drive a car without hitting the curb.
You
I
get
did.
adjusted.
I did get the podcast to completely focus on me and talk about me for a moment.
Michelle, what'd you say?
I said, but he does get adjusted,
He gets adjusted.
so it could happen.
He comes into the chiropractic clinic.
Coming
Get his
at you,
midichlorian
Chad.
count
So-
up further up. It's kind of suave, Steve.
Thank you.
Like you could put on your little suit and tie and bam.
Yeah, this is
Drop
how
you
I
off
go.
at the nearest
when
queer
I'm wearing
bar.
my suit and tie, this is how I do it.
That's back in high school. We called that a yup nope. A yup in the front, nope in the back. Business in the front, party in the rear. 90-10.
Steve, I'll tell you real quick, it ain't a mullet.
It ain't a mullet.
That's they're coming
People
back.
with people with long hair that look like a mullet are always quick to tell you they don't have a mullet, right? You don't know what we're talking about.
I do. I had a mullet in high
Eric,
school.
did you?
I was cool. I had a mullet in high
You
school.
can still grow hair though.
I can.
Yeah,
I'm a silver
I
top.
can see from your yeah.
I'm like Kramer from Seinfeld though. It's like total like like
Yeah,
it's not,
yeah.
I've been doing it for a long time. I got it. It's really bad if it grows out. So I can't pull it off. I can do the beard. I'm silver. It gives me a little bit of
You're
get the silver
Marine. You
fox
got
going on.
yeah.
I got to play the role.
I understand. First of all, before we go any further, how do people find you? Somebody wants to bring you in, train their sales team, get those folks ready to go out and be successful. How do they find you?
Yeah, my website's probably best. mentaltoughness.speaker.com. I'm also on Twitter at Mental Speaker. Catch a lot of slack for that. I catch a lot of people trying to beat me up on stuff like Mental Speaker. You sound like you got a mental problem, and you're
I
this.
hate people.
They do, aren't they? I tell you what, they have nothing better to do. It's like
Was that your Donald Trump invitation right there?
Yeah.
That's right. Good call. I didn't pick up on that.
Yeah.
Jeez, get me in trouble.
And what's funny is how many people jump on that. Like, oh, he made fun of somebody with a disability. But then you go back and you look at how many times when he's quoting someone, like over the years, he's done that little motion when he's doing them because that's him being facetious about what they're saying. And there's numerous example after example, and people get triggered. Like, oh my God.
Because it's words. I mean, they've actually done studies on this, which blows my mind. They just did a study. There were 1,500 college students that were interviewed on this, and 30% of the kids that were surveyed said they viewed some speech to be an act of violence. So these are college kids, 3 out of 10 walking on a college campus that basically say, if you say something to me I don't like, I view that as an act of violence. Which basically means it's the same thing as you coming and punching me in the face.
Yeah.
Words, things that were said.
Words, sticks and stones.
These are kids also that said they thought if a person comes in to speak at a university, they have to, based on the First Amendment, they have to have somebody come in with an opposing point of view. They thought that was a First Amendment right.
So our friend Michael Knowles with Daily Wire, so he was speaking at a university a few months ago, and Mike is one of the most. He's one of the sweetest guys out there.
Very articulate. Yeah.
He's articulate. He's just nice. He's a sweet guy, super smart. And in the middle of his speech, they just went crazy, and they had to haul these people out of there because all of a sudden there was this protest because something he said, and it was completely benign. Stuff that you would just brush on past. And I see things like that scenario that happen over and over and over again. And for instance, Party Foul Steve and I, we had a show. I had a show in Missoula, Montana. Now, Montana, right? Land of cowboys, tough people, and hardcore, hard scrabble, against the elements, ranchers up there. But Missoula is different. It's Montana-fornia. Because all the Californians have moved in there, and plus they have the university there. Bozeman is similar. So some guy wrote a hit piece about my comedy show saying, oh, this is unfortunate that they're allowing this guy to come in here and do a show. And we got more death threats. We got more protest threats. We got more. But, I mean, I wasn't worried about them. There was a bunch of skinny dudes and, with tight jeans and blue hair. I wasn't nervous. Had so many piercings in their face that their skin whistled when the wind blew. So I wasn't worried about it.
The profile picture's a cartoon character.
It's an avatar.
It's an avatar, yeah.
But back to the thing about Twitter. these people have nothing better to do. Like the big thing on Twitter, I have the trolls, that have 17 followers. And they love to say, yeah, coming from a fake cowboy. And I'm like, okay. Like these days, it's pretty much true. Once upon a time, I used to do cowboy shit. These days, nah, I just run my mouth. I just like wearing a hat. At this point, it's a fashion statement. I used to do all kind of stuff. Don't anymore. But I just love how they think that's an insult. Like, okay.
So easily triggered. Safe zones.
Yeah.
Ben Shapiro, which I love. I love the podcast too. And
Yeah.
Michael Knowles actually the one. They had the guy come up. I don't know if you saw, they like squirted him with something.
Squirted him, yeah.
Yeah, they squirted him. He's like, thank goodness it wasn't anything crazy.
Wasn't acid or
yeah. They got
semen.
the milkshake stuff now. They got the milkshake stuff.
You start spraying semen on me in a public event, I better have some mental toughness.
You're exactly right.
Because I'm going to cut your throat.
Right.
I'm going to see your carotid artery spray all over me.
It's just crazy.
Myself in your blood.
But that's an act, that's like, I'm from Baltimore, right? So when we had all the riots in the years back, and the mayor back then, stand down. She tells the police force, stand down, let them voice their opinions, let them do what they got to do. They're terrorizing the city.
Did it bug you when Trump came out talking about West Baltimore recently?
Not at all.
Yeah, and it's the truth.
And the people that are there, the people that are there understand, like, he's not saying it about the people, he's saying it about the city itself. It's because of poor leadership. And it's been that way for a long time. He didn't say anything, they used the word infested. He used it to refer to New Hampshire, which is 96% white people, talking about the drug infested. So to say that word, he's calling, and the majority of people in Baltimore, they agree with it. They're like, hey, our city's in bad shape.
It's in bad shape.
Look at the leadership.
A few years ago, and it's still not great, but I mean, a few years ago, the number one city in America for drugs and drug abuse was Plano, Texas. Plano, right up the road here. And you wouldn't think that that'd be the case, but it was. And I can take you to places around the country. Like, for instance, we talked on a recent episode about the pharmaceutical company that made OxyContin filing for bankruptcy protection because they're losing everything because they're getting sued so much. And I made a joke about, it was a joke, but it's also based on truth about how, well, Kentucky's disappointed because they have some of the largest counties in the nation of people dying from OxyContin abuse. And these aren't black people. These are folks up in the holler, right, with nothing better to do. They ain't got the money to cook meth.
Somebody put poor man's vacation I read it. I was like,
you got to quit reading the comments, Steve.
I love it.
I do 20 minutes of comments just to engage, and then I'm done with it. I mean, if I did that, that's all I would do. All I would do.
The avatars.
Because people are crazy.
They are, and you look at these big cities like this, you look at like a Baltimore, for instance, and it's what I speak on a lot, it's what I swear by, it's the lack of father figures. And Baltimore is a prime example. The 70% of households in Baltimore.
Why do you think people refuse to look at that? Because you're right. That's a fact.
I'll tell you why, because they can't politicize it. We look at these mass shootings. I do a lot of media on this. We look at mass shootings, gun control. Let's go to the root of this, okay? 70% of the mass shooters came from households without fathers, 70% of them. You want to talk about a common thread? That's the common thread. Why don't we look more into it? Why don't we do more about it? Because you can't politicize it. Yeah. You can't beat somebody over the head. How do you fix that? Tell fathers to be fathers? No. Instead, let's go after gun control. Let's institute more laws, which universal background checks wouldn't have stopped a single mass shooting to date. So don't tell me that's going to fix it. Don't tell me getting rid of creating more laws is going to fix the issue. It's the people. It's the sensitized kids who grow up without being able to express emotion, that don't have a father figure, that commit crime.
Yeah. The Emotional Marine. That's the book. You got to get this book. We're not done talking, by the way. You came down here from Baltimore. We're going to spend some time together because this is intriguing stuff. Back in the early 1960s, 75% of black households were two-parent families. Then all of a sudden, these days, it's dropped all the way down to nothing. The percentage of black households where the father is present in the household is non-existent. It's non-existent. There are financial reasons for that. There are welfare reasons for that. There are ways to fleece the system by it being that way. And it's become an acceptable practice. And it has. So you go to Baltimore, you go to Detroit, you go to the south side of Chicago, and it has become epidemic. 55% of gun violence is black-on-black crime. People want to talk about white supremacy and this white nationalism, and that's the reason for all this violence. White-on-black homicides when it comes to gunplay is less than 1% in this nation. It's a non-existent thing. So what do? Everybody wants to talk about mental health. I want to talk about family health. Let's talk about these role models. Who are these kids being mentored by? It should be a dad, but unfortunately, you're right when you say, okay, how do we roll this back? How do we fix this? And there's got to be people. There's got to be men, real men, and men are key. I know everybody wants to just abolish the genders these days. Men are key. Because who is supposed to be that example of mental toughness?
And the race part of it's really irrelevant at that point.
It really is.
Regardless, it's like if you're without a father, there are detrimental effects tied to that.
Doesn't matter if you're white, and because again, there's a lot of these mass shootings. Obviously, they've been perpetrated by white kids.
Race irrelevant. It's without a father in the household. And you go back and you say, well, then I catch a lot of slack on that. And like, so you're saying moms can't do a good job? They absolutely can, but we each have the own things we provide when raising a child. A mom, for instance, does things. She's more nurturing. She explains things more to a kid, whereas a father, is more likely to say, here it is, take it, deal with it. So it teaches them critical thinking skills where a mom might walk them through it. A father says, this is the way it's supposed to be. Figure out how to fix it. So there's no right or wrong way there. But the problem is, without a combination of both of them, a boy can listen to his mom say, this is what you're supposed to do, but lead by example. They're going to learn a lot more by seeing their father actually set the example than hearing their mom say what needs to be done.
I respond to the actions of my kids a lot of times, and I'll say, now, how would my dad have dealt with that? And I realize it is very, very different because my dad was a disciplinarian. My dad was an engineering. He was an engineer, so he had an engineering mind. I am everything but an engineering mind, okay? So I've always been a talker. My dad was very quiet. My dad very, very stoic and very dry sense of humor if it ever even came out of him. And my dad was a tough guy. He was a hard guy. He's a good man, but he's a hard guy. And so I look at that and I'm like, I thank God that my dad who was always there, but he was tough on me. And as much as I hated that, it made me a better person, even though our personalities were very, very different. It helped me learn to solve things and deal with things because he didn't just make it easy for me. And I find myself a lot of times with my kids just making it easier. My dad, when I went off to college, University of Georgia, my dad gave me $25 a week. That was it. That was gas money. That was food money. That was $25.
Don't spend it all in one place.
A week. That was it. And these days, my two oldest daughters are off at two different universities. And, my 19-year-old daughter, she's like, can you help me with rent again this month? Yeah, baby, don't you worry about it. I got you. How much you need? $450. Here's $600.
Keep the change.
Yeah. You get you something to eat, baby. Go home, girl. Is your car okay? It's just, that's it. But it's like, we've done that to this generation.
We have. And again, when it comes down to, this is not a jab at any gender or whatever, but when it comes down to it, a boy especially needs the male role model.
They do.
And you look at the disrespect for police. That's another thing I talk a lot about. These New York City police officers, they're taking a beating. There's lots of reasons why. It starts with de Blasio, obviously, providing zero support for them. It starts with them. But these kids just don't grow up in households where they're taught to respect.
Yeah.
If you obey an order from a police officer, you got about a 99.9% chance everything's going to be okay.
Yeah.
The minute you don't follow the law, there's going to be a problem there. So I've always said you can tell a lot about a person based on how they interact with three groups of people: police officers, waiters and waitresses at a restaurant, and animals. I can tell everything I need to know about a person based on how they interact with them.
True.
And that is tried and true for me. I'll go out to restaurants with people. I'll watch how they interact because that waiter can provide no value to them other than bringing them food and drinks. So the way they interact with them tells me a lot about them. Someone who can't do anything for them, are they still going to treat them with respect? Kids aren't brought up with any respect. So they're out there running the streets, getting crazy. Then all of a sudden, what happened to this kid? Why all of a sudden is he dealing drugs? Why is he running around? Because he's got nobody to tell him right from wrong.
Yeah. There was, and again, the old adage is true. If you don't respect authority, you've got to put yourself under authority in order to have authority in your life. And if you disrespect authority and keep fighting authority, eventually someone with authority will put you in subjugation. You might go to prison, but you will submit to someone's authority. And I've always said, if you want to have authority in life, you got to submit to authority. That's why again, even the Bible says, hey, God places the leaders over you. You might not like them, but just pray for them. Because there's a principle in that, is you got to submit to authority even when you don't like that authority. And those people that, like you said, provide no substantive value to your life as a whole, they're there to serve you. How do you treat the person who's there to serve you? Do you treat them with respect, or do you treat them like trash?
Yeah.
It's a big deal.
Yeah,
or a dog or an animal that can't fight back or It's just there to love you.
That is, you can tell a lot by that. And, it goes back to the military. Any branch other than to be the Marine Corps. It goes back to what you learn in the military. I mean, the problems you see in society as a whole, you don't see that in the military.
Yeah.
You don't see that because we all have this social fabric. It's this common thread that's lacking right now. 0.4% of our population is active duty military. 7.3% are veterans. That's it. So if everybody who's living right now, 7.3% have served. You look at this generation, and not a lot of our age group served. If their fathers didn't serve with their grandfathers, there's 2 or 3 generations that are totally lost.
Yeah.
There's no appreciation. I can remember sitting on my grandfather's lap. He's talking about World War II, firing artillery shells, watching black and white TV. I can remember that. If there's that big of a gap there's no social fabric. I talk about mandatory military service. People give me a hard time. I don't want to have to make people go and I have to do whatever. You want to change the way this country's going, give somebody something to fight for. Give somebody something that it's common. There's no commonality.
No commonality, and nothing brings people together faster than having a common enemy even. Like we just went through September 11th again. It was the 18th anniversary of September 11th, and everybody kept putting the memes out saying, I wish we could have an America like September 12th. Because what did we have? We had that common enemy. We had that reason to come back together and be unified again. Didn't last long, but we felt good as Americans the next day because we came together, and there was that camaraderie because we have this common thing going on. And I also saw another meme that was very telling to a point you made recently, is they said on September 11th, 2001, it became never forget. And then the next picture showed this person up in this cop's face, chewing him out, and says, that didn't last. And it's right, because now it's, and you got BLM out there is going, hey, we're going to barbecue some pigs. We're going to roll them like bacon and fry them like bacon. And, we're going to all this stuff, which is just absolutely hate rhetoric.
Then you have elected officials saying some people did something.
Some people did something.
And nobody gets upset. And that is another major problem in our political environment right now. We are so ensconced in our political, I'm Republican, I'm Democrat, I'm 100% for this, 100% for that. We're so ensconced in those political beliefs that nobody can call that out. Tell me one person on the left that called her out for saying that. Yeah. If you didn't take offense to those words, you don't have a heartbeat. That is disgusting. It's literally disgusting. Some people did something.
I know. And then, okay, so to that point, on a personal level, when you talk about emotional toughness, mental toughness, how quick are you to say whatever you feel and whatever you're thinking at that moment without a fear of consequences?
You have to be careful of that, obviously, and it is emotional control, because the initial instinct is to. I mean, let's face facts here. We use emotions to make 100% of decisions in our life. 100% of decisions are made based on emotion. We use logic to substantiate it. Yeah. So we make these decisions based on emotion all the time.
Michelle, do you make all your decisions based on emotional things?
No.
Yes, you do. No. You're a woman.
I am also a left brain woman and a right brain.
Yeah.
I'm both. What's the difference?
We need to look at your brain.
She's a doctor. That does give her a little extra edge on a
little more analytical.
Yeah, a little more analytical. But we're emotion based. So, the key is, and especially in my line of work, I do have to be careful with that, because people do get offended so easily. And the companies I speak to, I tell them that, like, hey, I'm a 1099 person here. You can't go to HR about me. Like, whatever. And I'm not even telling you what I believe. I'm just asking you critical thinking questions. And they get upset about that.
They do.
Oh, yeah. How dare you say that? I just asked you a question. Like, I didn't give you my belief. My belief means nothing.
So I've never seen myself necessarily as a flamethrower. There's a lot of political commentators, political humorists. They're trying to trigger people. I'm really not trying to trigger people, although it happens anyway. So I'm not putting my finger in your face and coming at you. And I have a lot of good friends who do that. That's their shtick. That's what they do. I just want to start a conversation. If that's stirring the pot a little bit, I don't work for anybody per se. I have this ability. The consequences are my own if I put it out there. Now, I have this really bad personality trait, and that is when I first meet somebody, I try to see how far I can push them just to see where their edge is, and then I'll pull back, because I can usually find it pretty quick. Like, I'll just, like, what joke can I tell? What can I say? And then some people it's a long way to the edge. I'll never push you over the edge, but I'll show it to you.
You about pushed me over the edge when I first got here. I don't get pushed over the edge. No, Michelle was saying some stuff.
Fun, right?
Yeah, it was
awesome. Fun. It's fun. I mean, you there's enough of that stuffed shirt, staunch stuff that you got out there. I want to look at culture. I want to look at life, and I want to have fun with it. I want to look at it. I want to make fun of it. and at the same time make a point. I've always said, let's take some common sense, wrap it in humor, make it an easier pill to swallow, and then let's see what you regurgitate. Let's see what comes out of you.
And see, and actually what you just said are two very strong mental toughness pieces that you possess. That's basically self-awareness and self-regulation. So those two things you said, self-awareness would be you're able to pick up on somebody else's feelings. So you're not just aware of your own feelings, you're aware of other people's feelings. And then the self-regulation piece, you're able to regulate your emotions based on how you perceive them.
Yeah,
so those are two things you just said that would say, okay, that's a mental toughness thing, as opposed to no filter. I'm saying what I'm saying. I'm offending every single person. I'm going to continue to keep going what I'm doing. Yeah. You're totally unaware of the people around you.
Now, when I was younger, I used to do that out of naivety. I was just stupid. That's my sweet way of saying I was dumb. And so I was a kid, and I thought like a kid, right? I didn't realize how naive I was, but I was around a lot of adults, a lot of mentors, spent a lot of time in a lot of different countries, and you just automatically think, because you're educated and you experience these things, you just think you know more than you know. You don't really have that balanced with wisdom. But a few years ago, I finally got to that point in life where I said, I'm taking the mask off. I'm going to be me. I don't want to be my mentors. So I spent years trying to be my mentors. I want to be me. And I don't know, I want to say it was Rudyard Kipling who said you can only wear two faces to the world for so long before you figure which one is the real one. And I finally got to that point. And I do that. That's a self-examination I do on a regular basis. Am I being me? Because I'm the only instrument God ever made to be me. So why try to be somebody else?
And again, that's a strong emotional intelligence piece. And that's the great...
You hear that, Candace? Strong emotional intelligence right here.
He's got it. And that's the great thing about emotional intelligence, is I was not born smart. Like, again, you're born with IQ.
Yeah.
It is what it is. EQ, it's your brain. It's a muscle. You can grow. So you can take anybody, regardless of book smarts, and make them an emotionally intelligent person. You can grow. You can get good at people skills. You can get good at understanding emotion. You can especially get good at controlling your own emotion, which is very, very difficult to do.
That is tough.
It's very difficult.
Do you think it's healthy? Do you think it's healthy when somebody is somewhat of a chameleon in that they can go into any situation or scenario and just kind of adapt to that? Is that a good thing or is it a bad thing? Have you thought about that?
Yeah, and it all depends on the environment. I mean, in business, obviously, that's a great trait to have. You know, you have to. At the same time, you can't walk into situations and totally deny who you are and allow people to step all over you.
That's a loss of integrity.
Absolutely, it's a loss of integrity. So yeah, it's again controlling, but you have to be true to who you are. Yeah. But the good thing is, again, you can learn this stuff. It's not like something that you have to be born with it. You can learn it. Once you learn it, and it can be, you know, a lot of people say, oh, it's like manipulative, like my book. You know, people are like, well, that's manipulative. You're trying to get people to do anything you want them to do. And I'm like, that's kind of a byproduct of it, just because we communicate with so few people that know how to be personable, that know how to understand other people's feelings, that when you do get good at these things, you're going to find that you're able to make friendships pretty easily. You're able to get things that you want pretty easily because people want to do business with you. They like you.
Yeah. We referred to Dale Carnegie early. You know, he wrote How to Win Friends and Influence People, which is, you know, in many ways has been updated throughout the years. I mean, here's a book that was written, in the 20s? And I mean, you know, it was kind of, and there's been numerous sales books about, you know, people buy from who they like, those kind of things. I've always wanted to write a book about how to be likable, because we don't talk about that. And you've done that with the Emotional Marine. You've talked about these 68 principles and points of emotional. And that's one thing, how to make people immediately like you.
It's not difficult, and nobody does it. I mean, it's just the simplest things, just like being a good listener. You know, I can't tell you how many sales I've gotten from people just because I listen. Like, I'll spend an hour on the phone with somebody. I've only said, yeah, ha, ha, ha. Like, literally. And it's like, they're like, oh my God, Eric, you're the best person I ever talked to. Yeah. Just because I listen. We have an innate need to be heard. And unfortunately, so many people they're horrible at it. We're listening, trying to react without listening to understand. Emotionally intelligent people are very good at listening and understanding. It's so simple to do. Nobody does it. Especially not guys. We're horrible at that. We don't listen to anything. We just, okay. Did you say something? I didn't hear what you were saying. Guys are horrible at that. Exactly. Right. You had me at a low. Exactly.
Candace, you say something? Candace, you want to chime in over here? This is gold.
I really like it. I like what you just said. Basically, people listen to respond and not listen to understand. I always like that viewpoint of it because it's very true. Like, people are getting ready to form their argument as you're trying to explain yours, and no one understands anything.
They don't, because, again, it's that old adage, that proverb of that's why God gave you 2 ears and 1 mouth. You know,
spot on.
And you're not listening if your mouth is open. It's like if you're looking, you ain't cooking kind of thing. You know, keep the grill shut. And so you're right, because a lot of times people are talking and you're thinking of what you're going to say next. For instance, you ever notice on a television show? Television shows, if you'll watch how they give the verbiage, the script, read the script, and repeat their lines, it's not like real life. For instance, when you're watching a sitcom or a television show, the person says their lines and they stop, and the next person starts talking. That is not how real life is. We always start talking before the other person's finished. Mm-hmm. You ever been in a conversation with somebody close to you that you're in a good relationship, and you already know what they're going to say, so by the time they're on the last 3 words of the sentence, you're already talking.
Yep. I get my kids, I got 2 teenage daughters, they're 17 and 15, and I tell anytime I have any kids in the car, here's my rule. When somebody's talking, you listen.
Steve.
Huh?
Shut up.
Sorry, I wasn't listening. Did I miss something?
Sometimes, though, Steve is so serious with his BS that I'm like I've learned you pretty well now as your road wife.
Yeah.
As my road concubine. Whoa.
I don't know about concubine.
My road eunuch.
Triggered.
Look at his hair. I can't with you right now.
Do I need to take it down? Do you feel better?
No, leave it, Steve.
It's like Fabio. I know. I was going to say Fabio.
You be you, Steve.
Yeah. I am me
look,
every day.
man.
You
could slay with that. I'm telling you.
Yeah.
Drop you off at the club. Put on a little lipstick. Take it uptown.
I got bass on him. So.
But like Steve will say things that are so serious, and I'm like, does he really believe what he just said? And you're totally BSing.
Yeah.
That's just your thing. You just make it up.
Yeah.
And I love that when you do it, because the people that don't know you, they think
don't
you're
know how
actually telling facts.
Yeah.
Like you're laying some trivia on
Somebody
them.
fact checked my whole vegan with the spray tan. I said, your vegan spray tan has animal byproducts in it. The next thing I know, they're over there. Oh my! They're worried now that they're spraying animal protein on them.
I remember. Yeah, that's right. People
Animal
start sending you
feces.
messages. Yeah. They do.
So it's
But we said that facetiously and jokingly. But you take a guy like Steve, and Steve does not have a low IQ. Steve's a smart dude. Steve has a lot of street smarts. That's one of the things that I love about having Steve with me all the time, because he's got a lot of street smarts. You wouldn't know it by looking at him. I mean, the guy's basically wearing a man bun right now.
no, it's not.
You got a
Not
fart
a man
knot on your head. You got one of them little
It's a
twat
ponytail
knots.
on the back.
He looks like an actor in medieval times right now. So it looks like
Come
to me.
on,
Right
medieval
out of Game of
times.
Yeah.
Game of Thrones. Yeah.
Ready running.
Ned Stark.
You're the midget.
The Jerry Nadler.
Did
you see our buddy Jeff
That midget
Spe-
got laid a lot.
Well, I heard he had a big old. Anyway.
Yeah.
IQ.
Belt buckle.
You want some potato salad? Look at this thing. I got a plate for you. That was your potato salad. Party time, Mom. What was I talking about? Oh, yeah. No, shut up. Did you see where our buddy Jeff Sperrier, who calls himself the midget from Pritchett?
Uh-huh.
He's our buddy. And midget from Pritchett, Texas. He posted a picture that was in the newspaper of himself when he was a kid, and he was in his wheelchair, and he was hitting the ball. And he said, look at the midget from Pritchett playing baseball on this deal. And people jumped his ass like, how dare you refer to someone as a midget? And he's like, it's me!
I really do want to get him a little bitty Barbie car and to bring us on one of the shows sometime.
He'll do it.
Come
He'll
out on
do
stage
it.
with you.
And
That'd be
God bless you,
hilarious.
Jeff. Jeff's been on the ventilator. He's had some respiratory issues. He's been sick the last few days. So God bless you, buddy. The midget from Pritchett. He's like, if I bring back the midget from Pritchett T-shirts, will you promote them? I'm like, no, I can't. I mean, because again, you got to know where you got to do that, because people don't. I mean, like, you can call yourself the midget from Pritchett. Did I ever tell you about the time when I was at the midget convention?
Oh, here we go.
And didn't know.
Is it okay, Candace? Can you tell?
I could tell it. You've heard this story, right? Yeah. I'll tell you when we get off there.
Nice. They're the best.
Little
ones.
People of America. It was It was the most phenomenal nights of my life. Didn't even know I was there. But came downstairs. I was in Boston, and every week of the 4th of July, you want to talk about people who have emotional quotients that are high. Now imagine that. Imagine being a little person who that's where you are in life. you'll never go anywhere that someone's not looking at you, paying attention to you. They see you. And as much as everyone else tries to be mentally mature, you're going to, so here I am, not mentally mature, and I'm in Boston, and I go downstairs, and I'd noticed there were these little stools in the elevator and little stools in front of the urinals and little stools in front of the sinks, and I was like, hell. And so I go out, and there's these big banners that says Little People of America. And then all of a sudden the sessions let out in this convention center. It was like somebody kicked an anthill. They were just 5,000 of them. They just spilled out. It was like the Lollipop Guild, man. Like I'd landed in Oz and the house was on the witch, And I was like, I made all these friends. I texted my wife, I said, I'm having sex with a midget tonight. And she was like, go for it. So anyway, we're hanging out in the bar. We're having a time, man. And I've just made the best friends. And we just had a blast. And the next year they asked me to come out and be their keynote speaker for the whole deal. But I was otherwise engaged and couldn't make it. But we had a blast, man. But it was 5,000 little people, and we had a good time. And there's a lot more to that story, but I won't tell it here. I got in a little bit of trouble that night.
Oh, yeah.
Come on, dude. We were having a trip.
Have a whole new demographic hating Chad.
Nah, they love me. They love Eric. Because, again, my thing is, and I'll tell you this, Eric, and tell me if this is healthy or not, okay? Like, I do this thing where I always say it on stage, I say it on here a lot, I won't apologize. First of all, I'm not going to say anything I'm ashamed of. Like, I make jokes for a living. That's what I do. I make fun of people. Mocking is in the job description. So I'm not going to ridicule you on the basis of the color of your skin. That's stupid. I mean, that's nobody punches down like that. I'm just talking about stereotypes are built in fact. We know that. Like Andrew Yang said the other day, I'm Asian, so I know a lot of doctors. And everybody jumped his ass for it. Well, I'm white. I know a lot of people that, go to Walmart. So it's dumb that people get so triggered by this thing, right? But there is a line you can cross, and that's when it just gets into not healthy. But I always say, I'm not going to apologize. Like, if I make jokes, I love you, first of all. And everybody, I always do that. I love you. I don't care who you are. Anybody that's ever been around me, we get along. I get along with everybody. I love everybody. I don't care anything. I don't care who you love. I don't care what color your skin is. I don't care, what you are, what you think. If you're liberal, I'm conservative. I still love you. Fine. That's why I don't apologize, because everything I say, even though I'm making fun, I'm doing it in love, and we do that. So I think that this culture of apologizing has really hurt us. Like, let's say you say something. Again, Kevin Hart, he goes out, and 7 years ago he makes a joke that's considered homophobic, and they take the Oscars away. So now he goes on this apology tour. So basically, you're admitting guilt. Kevin Hart is not a homophobe,
right?
It's
Beto O'Rourke apologizing because he's white. I mean, it's unfortunately, especially when it comes to the racism piece of it. I mean, I just feel like I'm obviously not a minority. If I was a minority, I'd be very upset at people throwing the word racism around. Racism is now a term that's used when you don't agree with somebody politically. You're automatically racist. Like, wait a minute, there truly are people who are racist. Like, there are people who hate people based on the color of their skin. Yeah. Let's reserve that term for them as opposed to using it towards people that you don't like. It's since everybody's racist at that point. So unfortunately, in your line of work, and anybody who's a political figure or anybody who's any type of figure at all, the minute you apologize, you're done. You're finished. Your career's over. I mean, whatever it was, you're finished. You can't. So if it's something you don't truly believe you've done wrong, you absolutely should not apologize for it. You get more respect that way.
Yeah.
Instead of, again, running around the tour like the Betos, they're just, I hate keep picking on him, whatever. It's apology after apology after apology. It's like all these people are apologizing for stuff. It's like, why do you continue to say you're sorry?
Yeah.
Like, grab hold.
And if you really meant it, you wouldn't keep calling yourself Beto.
Right.
When you're an Irish white guy. Yeah. I mean, why do you, Beto? I'm writing a song right now. Beto is Spanish for
How's that tune go?
It's going to be a hit.
Yeah, I agree.
It's going to be a hit. Hey, Candace.
Do you have the chorus or anything?
No, I'm not singing it. I'm doing it on stage next week.
They're going to have to come out to your shows.
Yeah, you got to come to a show. You got to go to watchchad.com and find out where I'm going to be on the road. Come out there and hang out.
Are they $5,000 for a couple tickets? Like
No. I'm not Michelle Obama. Not Michelle Obama.
Meet and greet?
VIP. Get a refreshment. Get to shake hands with Mike Obama.
Mike. Jeez.
She's going to tuck for you.
That's so bad.
That's mean.
That's so mean.
Michelle's a woman, right?
Michelle's a woman.
I think she's a woman.
They? She?
They, them. Do you think that Malia and Sasha are their kids?
I do. You know, I got to take it something serious here. I will say this. I agree with nothing about Obama.
Sure.
As a father, I do respect him. I feel
think
like
he's a family man.
Yes,
I agree with that.
I do really like. I feel like especially with politics, that gets lost in everything. You know, these people were just beating on him. Again, I agree with nothing that he says, nothing he does. He is a good family man.
I agree with that, and I've said it many, many times. If Obama walked into this building right now, I think he would be cordial. I think he would be nice. I think he would be gracious. I think we could sit here. We could have a great conversation. Was he good for America? No. I think his ideas and political philosophies are ideologically opposed to anything I believe is good for America.
I agree.
But I think we could sit here. We could have a good talk. We could have a good time. And I would be remiss if I missed that opportunity. I'd want to do it. You know, that's why I don't understand these athletes these days who say, "Well, I'm not going to the White House. We won the championship. I'm not going to go." Come on. Aubrey Huff, who won 2 World Series with the Giants, sat right there in that chair a couple of weeks ago, and he said, "Yeah, I went with Obama. You know, Obama was there. I didn't like Obama, but I went because don't you want to tell your grandkids you got to go to the White House?" And you know, it's a big, big deal.
Yeah, and that's kind of cool to do, and that's the difference between one side compared to the other side. We're able to have this type of, we're able to show that kind of respect, where unfortunately it appears in this political environment, if you don't like somebody based on their political beliefs, you hate them as a person.
Right. That's the thing, right?
That's a
that is a sure sign. I did a video a couple years ago about the phenomena which is the internet troll and the psychological aspects of what goes into that, everything from the narcissism to and all of these things, these 4 components that I laid out that make up the need for these people to be that way. And it's that way. And if I don't agree with you, like, really, you don't agree with my political opinion, so I'm evil? That's not healthy.
No. And I hate you because of it. And you're just a horrible person. You're a horrible individual that kills babies. And it's scary, and it does go back to childhood. You know,
and you've been on the networks. I mean, you've been on all the major networks. You've been out there talking, and I've been on the major networks. I go out there every summer. We pitch shows in Hollywood to ABC, NBC, Fox, TBS, you name it. We're pitching shows. We go out there all the time. And you sit there, and as a conservative guy, I already have the checks against me, right? I'm already at 2 strikes here. Because I'm conservative. Now, there's conservatives in Hollywood, but basically the Hollywood powers that be are saying, we don't want any more. Like, we've met our conservative quota out here. We don't want any more. And that's unfortunate because you have half of America that is truly being underserved in the entertainment business on the simple basis that people don't have the emotional strength to deal with a differing opinion.
The hate's real. I'm on a plane ride coming here today. I sit down next to this lady. We had an amazing conversation. First 15, 20, 30 minutes. She's talking about her grandkids. I'm talking about my kids. I'm talking about sports, whatever. Playing, you know, we take off, whatever. I break out my book. I'm reading The Real Deal, which is Donald Trump's book, The Real Deal. And she's like, "Oh my God, are you reading that?"
Huh?
I'm like, "No, I'm going to eat it for lunch." I'm like, "Why? You want a bite?" She's like, "Are you serious?" She's like, "Here, I thought you were." And I'm like, I'm just thinking to myself, here we go. And it ends up, we had a cordial conversation, we had a cordial conversation, whatever. But it's that initial I'm reading a book.
Yeah.
And you dislike this person so much that you now dislike me because I'm reading a book about him.
Yeah.
Who's to say I don't hate him and I'm just reading a book to hate him even more? Like, why? So it's the hate is so deep. You talk
I'm doing research here to bring the man down.
I'm finding a reason. These lights are making me look orange. What's going on with this, Chad? I mean, I definitely look orange and 30
See the whites around my eyes?
Exactly. Jeez.
Run your fingers through my hair.
It is a hate epidemic. Our nation is in the middle of a hate epidemic for no reason. It's fabricated hate. And it's unfortunately a big part of it are the people in politics that are pushing this. You have to hate people. You have to hate each other. When I was in the Marine Corps, being in the military, we didn't see color in the military. Everybody was green. Right, Steve? You're
dark
light green,
light
dark
green.
Exactly right. Didn't matter to me. That meant nothing to me. What mattered to me was when something goes down, do I know that you got my back? And absolutely every single person did. We don't hate anybody. We have an innate need to love everybody. We learn hate.
You like to be loved.
You like to be loved. It's an innate need. You know, what do we grow up hating? Naps and the boogeyman. That's all we hate. We don't hate anybody based on their color.
Remember, naps were punishment once
They
upon a
were. They
time.
were horrible. I'd die for one.
We're
now.
so dumb.
I know, right? Give me a nap. Cheese in a bottle.
Colonel Alan West, sat right there in that chair, and he said the last time he was here, he said, "I didn't care what color your finger was as long as it was pulling the trigger.
Good call.
You're on my side. I don't care what color your finger is as long as it pulled the trigger, and it was fighting for me." And that's pretty profound when you think about that, because I I could care less. That's 0.001% of our genetic makeup is the melanin in our skin, the pigmentation of our skin. So we're the same. We may be culturally different, and of course we are in many ways. We're culturally different. But look, there's people who are. I took a 23andMe DNA test. I'm 100% white. It took me $59 to learn that I'm 100% white. But I know other 100% white people, and we're culturally different. You know, that's just, I grew up down in the woods, and then you got some people that grew up in Brooklyn. And we're just different. And so it's okay. I don't care. Those cultures can come together. Mark Twain, and I'm paraphrasing, he said, nothing destroys prejudice like travel, and nothing destroys travel like prejudice. You know, I spent 20 years of my life in and out of third world countries going to all these places where I was the minority. You know, I was in Nigeria walking down the street, and they're screaming, Oibo, which is their N-word for a white person. It means peeled one. I found the humor in it.
Yeah.
You know? And so, and then a lot of the Yoruba people, the Nigerians, they will talk to you, if you're white, they'll talk to you in a squeaky voice, like, hey, and that's their insult.
Right.
They're insulting you. They're being racist.
Wow.
In that moment. So you just like, that's just their culture. That's what it is. But this idea that you just want to go and just find somebody to hate, that's not natural.
And they're throwing gas on the fire, unfortunately. You know, when they start talking about this person's racist and they hate this group of people and you have to vote for me because they hate them, it's throwing gas on the fire. What percentage of population is truly racist? What would you say? Whatever.
Okay, let me give you an example.
Yeah.
Okay, let's talk about white nationalism. Let's talk about the KKK. Let's talk about white supremacists. Okay. The least attended professional sport in the world is the WNBA. They might get 7,000 people show up to a game. 7,500 people. If you take that category that I just listed, white nationalists, white supremacists, KKK, they would not match the crowd of one WNBA game in terms of how many there are in this nation. So
Absolutely.
You're talking minuscule. 330 million people. And by and large, when I walk into a restaurant, I don't care what your skin color is. I don't care. Listen, Donald Trump is not a racist. Racists don't try to work to make sure people can get jobs. They don't do that. They don't invite my friend David Harris Jr., Brandon Tatum, Terrence Williams, all these guys, Candace Owens, Diamond and Silk, all of my friends. They've all been invited into the White House numerous times. They've embraced the president. He feeds them. He takes care of them. He talks to them, hugs them, welcomes them back. Racists don't do that.
There was something I read about that said there are 3 questions you can ask any Trump supporter. You might have heard this. There are 3 questions you can ask any Trump supporter that will totally confirm if somebody's racist or not. Question number 1, if you were able to assign all 9 seats on the Supreme Court, would you assign 9 black conservatives or 9 white liberals? It's question number 1. Question number 2, do you feel more comfortable in the company of a white liberal or a black conservative? Question number 3, your child's getting married. Would you rather your child marry a white, non-Christian liberal or a black Christian conservative? 99.99999% of the time, they're going to answer the black one every single time. Why? Because race means nothing. It's their beliefs that matter.
Right.
It's a conservative piece of it. Those are the 3 questions you can ask any Trump supporter that will get to the root of, no, we're not racist.
Genius.
We love everybody. You're stirring the hatred. We don't hate people. We love people.
I'm stealing that.
Please do.
I'm going to.
It's hard to remember.
No, it's not. It's mine now.
It's factual, though, Chad.
It's true.
It is
It's 100%
absolutely
true.
factual.
It's 100% true. You know who my candidate was? Everybody was Ted Cruz. I like Ted Cruz. And I know Ted Cruz. I know his dad. I'm friends with his father, Raphael, and friends with the Cruz family. But Ted Cruz was my guy. Ben Carson was my guy. Because I wanted a guy, and Ben Carson, we had dinner together last summer, and he said, America didn't need a Boy Scout. It needed a boxer, a wrestler, somebody that was going to come in here and change things up.
Prime example, Ben Carson. Do you know his mom could not read? She made him read books and write reports to her every single week. She couldn't read. She made him read and write reports. That is parenting to the nth degree. She can't even read. She's making him. So you want to talk about somebody who came from nothing and made something out of it? Look at Ben Carson. What an amazing story that is.
Incredible.
He's an amazing individual.
Incredible. Anybody that hadn't read Gifted Hands needs to.
He is just an all-around amazing person.
He really is. Super, super smart. I don't want to stop talking, but we got to stop talking. Eric, this is my language. I love this. This is where real life happens. You would think that this kind of common sense and wisdom would be normal and natural and people would get it, but they don't.
Common sense isn't so common.
They don't get it.
Mhm.
And I want to get back to a world of common sense. And I want to get back to a world of critical thinking, something that's not taught in our schools.
Yes.
We're completely void of that.
I agree.
David Barton, our friend here at the Blaze and Mercury One, David Barton has he's got a museum over in Weatherford of some incredible historical artifacts. But one of the things he's got in there is he's got tests that were given to elementary students at the turn of the 19th to the 20th century, and they've given those primary school tests to master's degree educators, and they can't pass them.
Wow.
Because we don't know how to solve a problem. You said that earlier. You're going in, you're getting this rote memory education, and you're regurgitating it back just to get the grade, and then you're out. And now you go to college, and you don't know what the hell's going on. You don't know how to process life.
You don't know how to take opponent's point of view. You get offended by it.
And then you have people who go to 4 or 5 years of undergraduate college or university, and they're still graduating with a degree in undecided.
Mm-hmm.
They don't know who they are.
Underwater basket weaving. Yeah.
The parents haven't taught them, and it's the parents' role
Mm-hmm.
to teach a kid their identity and their destiny.
Yes.
I looked at my 5 kids, every single one of them, and I said, okay, you're not a dancer. I know you like taking ballet, but you're not a dancer. That's why these people wind up on American Idol trying out, and they can't carry a tune in a bucket.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, now I have a 19-year-old daughter who is on a dance scholarship. She's a professional ballet dancer, but she's on a dance scholarship to a university in America. Not a lot of schools do that, and I never talk about what school they go to, but the other 2 daughters, not dancers.
Mm-hmm.
They have their own gifts. And it's up to a parent to point that out.
That's objective reality.
They don't do that.
Yeah. And not just with your kids, with people, with friendships, with relationships. Objective reality hurts.
I tell Steve all the time he's a driver. Don't I?
Every day.
But I'm not going to drive. I'm not going to do it.
It's the lesser of 2 evils.
I may die with you driving one day.
Don't even speak that. I don't even like that.
This is the last show, by the way, right? I mean,
This actually, now people will see more shows in here before we're done and we're in the other studio. But this taping, just so you guys know, if you've stayed this long in this deal, and I hope you have, this taping is the absolute last taping in this studio.
I'm honored.
Hey, I'm honored. I've had a blast, man. You and I are new best friends. Stevie Ray Vaughan recorded right here in this room. Pretty amazing.
That's impressive.
Yeah, somebody might say he didn't, but by God, he did. We've said it enough times, he did it. The ghost of Stevie Ray Vaughan is still in this building. The spirit of Stevie Ray lives on. All right, here's what you got to do, folks. You got to get the book. You got to get The Emotional Marine, 68 Mental Toughness and Emotional Intelligence Secrets to make anyone instantly like you. Throw his website back up there again, Puppet Master Mark. Throw it up there, mentaltoughnessspeaker.com. And it's Mental Speaker on Twitter, @mentalspeaker.
Yes, sir.
Eric Rittmeyer. We could do this forever. Here's what I want us to do, Eric. I want me and you to go out on the road.
I'm down.
Well, let's go do some shows together. Not shows. Let's go do some seminars together.
I'm in.
And let's teach people how to be mentally tough. I want to learn from you. But I'm telling you, this is a passion of mine.
It is music to my ears. You can bring the humor. I'll bring the
We'll
offensive.
have fun with it. We'll see if they're mentally tough, because I'll make fun of you.
I'm on board.
Look. Okay, so people don't understand this. So I'm a country boy, right? And so I was doing, back when stuff for me went viral the way that it did on social media, I was working on a travel show. I did 3 seasons of a travel show with Ride TV, which is an equestrian lifestyle network. They sent me all over the country showcasing in a humorous way these unique equestrian events, horse events that were out there. So, naturally I wore the cowboy hat all the time because it just fit me and it was right and it was my culture. And I went viral doing this. So, it's kind of become my thing over the years. And people look at me. I'm like, here's a dude who is a white guy, a heterosexual Christian male who, identifies as straight. I'm a he, him. And
people can.
I'm a cisgender he, him. And, you wear the cowboy hat. So people automatically, they're like, well, what's this guy? He's a fucking redneck. What does he know? He doesn't know anything. Blah, 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 blah. I'm like, hey, bring it on. I enjoy that because, again, it'll surprise you as we get to know each other. It's like, again, if you've got that emotional and mental toughness, you can be exactly who you are, and nobody can take anything away from you.
No, they'll actually respect you for that.
People love, I get this, I've gotten it for years. People say, we love that you're genuine.
Yes.
You are who you are.
Yeah. That's very rare now.
It's good stuff, man.
Yes,
I like it. Eric Rittmeyer, get the book, The Emotional Marine. Go get it, pay attention. And hey, your organization. If you like to sell things, and that's every organization, get him. Bring him in. Hire him. Get Eric Rittmeyer at your next event. Do it. Do it. Do it. Oh, and by the way, if you want to come out in public and see me, watch Chad.com. It's got all the tour dates. Candace, it was a good episode.
Really good episode.
It's a good episode, Candace.
One of the last.
This was fun. Oh,
I know.
but we're just beginning. We've only just begun to live.
I'm waiting for the hair flop back here.
I've learned that just every song, every episode we do should just have a song in it. Like Anne Murray.
Feels weird.
He let it down.
No, that's the Carpenters. That's the Carpenters. We've only just begun to live. She died of anorexia. Karen Carpenter.
She died of anorexia, or she died of
Anexexia?
starvation?
Anexexia?
Anorexia or starvation? What actually killed
Anorexia.
her? Okay.
You know who Karen Carpenter is?
It's a singer? Was she one of the Carpenters?
Jesus. I love our moments of silence as we just sit in the studio and feel the presence of Stevie Ray Vaughan.
It's a good ending.
We meditate.
Watch the numbers
And
drop.
David Bowie.
David Bowie.
See the
What's your
numbers
favorite David
drop
Bowie
off.
song?
It's a toss-up between Starman and Prettiest Star. Nothing?
Captain Tom.
Pressure.
Major Tom?
Major Tom. This is Major Tom to ground control.
Space Oddity.
I'm stepping through the door, and I'm floating in the most peculiar way. And the
like he's here
stars
now.
look very different today. I love singing to you. Oh, here am I sitting in a tin can. All across the world, planet Earth
This is charming.
blue, and there's nothing I can do.
You're blushing, Candace.
I love it because she gets embarrassed.
That's great. So innocent. So innocent.
She really is.
So
She
great.
really is. She's gonna, if she ever has a baby, it'll be an immaculate conception, right? It will be. She'll be in a manger or some barn somewhere. Wise men will show up from the east.
Oh my God. Poor Candace.
I know. God bless you. God bless you. Hey, Ilhan Omar is a criminal and should be deported, and I just want to remind everybody that that's a fact. Go get his book, Eric Rittmeyer. We'll talk to you next time. Love y'all. God bless you. Bye.